Anyways, Joy, I wanted to say my husband has seizures too.
Okay.
So we definitely, and then with the diabetes too, there's up, there's down, there's all of that. And what that brings as far as like just having to step away from the fear is absolutely incredible.
It's a toughie. So, and I guess the biggest thing for people being overwhelmed when we do our groups, our Heart of the Caregiver groups, is most people come in ready to grab a Kleenex and cry. Man, woman, senior, new mom, whoever it is, they're just so overwhelmed. And the first thing we do is just assess. That's that first A, is assess what is it that's really got you going. And, most people come into a caregiver group thinking, well, it's the people we've just been talking about. It's the people who are the big ones on our screen who seem to take all of our time and energy. But we do all have lots of other friends, and we have lots of other relationships. I mean, we've got coworkers, we've got enemies, we've got next door neighbors, we've got aunts, uncles, and cousins, we've got the other kids. There's so many other people in our lives, and it's really tempting to say, my life stinks, or I'm feeling overwhelmed because I got this one person or these two people who are demanding more than I can give. And, how do you feel about that? That, aren't there other things that you might be mad at besides just that person and just the caregiving situation? Because there have been so many times when I have thought I cannot change an adult poopy diaper one more time, and I'm mad at that. But what I'm really mad at is that I didn't lose weight this week. Or what I'm really mad at is that, a bunch of our friends are going somewhere and they didn't invite me, or my husband is getting to go on a golf trip and I got to stay, or, there's just a whole lot of other things, or the pile of ironing downstairs. There's a whole lot of other things that come to play in why I'm feeling the stress that I'm feeling. Well, what are some other things that stress you?
I think for me, what it is looking at the brokenness and taking care of the brokenness in my family, the kind of unending brokenness. It really causes me to realize my own brokenness.
Absolutely. So
I'm kind of trying to hide from my brokenness, and I can do that out there in the real world, with the people, the normal people. I can, I'm effective, I'm efficient, I'm powerful, I'm this amazing person. And then at home, I'm a mess, and it's hard not to even be angry at somebody in their weakness, where you're having this moment. You got a seizure, you got a low blood sugar, you got somebody else who's not even has an issue, but they want their attention. And then, your father's calling you, and it's all at the same time. And I don't behave the way I think I should. So that's kind of where, that's what it's done to me. It's caused me to really, really, really realize my own brokenness.
Yeah. But
absolutely.
If you get clarity, the thing that helped me a lot was I just sat down one day and wrote for hours all the stuff that was on my last nerve. And it helped me a lot to see that, yeah, I'm overwhelmed. And yeah, I'm not handling this well, but I got a lot on my plate.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot going on.
That's why I never did that until we did the class, because actually I thought, I don't even need a caregiver class. What's the matter with me? What we've got going on isn't that bad. And then I get in the class and I'm like, I have this moment to pause and reflect. And I realized, how bad it is, it was in the class that I realized my husband had brain injury, a brain damage, because of the other girl whose son had brain damage. And I'm listening and I'm like, oh, it's even worse than I thought it was. I thought he was just going to, his back hurt and he was going to get better and we were all going to be okay. And then I realized, no, it's brain damage. It's even worse. But I don't know. You have to take that moment to pause and reflect. And when you're so in it, you're not pausing and reflecting.
Yeah, but then a lot of people, go ahead, Joey.
No, absolutely. That's the thing that I realized with living with Canyon, is that it was survival mode.
Exactly.
which is like if someone dropped you off in the middle of a desert and was just like, see ya, like you're not thinking about, oh, do my pants match my shirt? Like you're just thinking, I got to get to water. I need to get to shelter. That's all you're thinking about. And I think that the reason why we don't assess is because it's too painful to actually realize what we are actually dealing with and living in. And also if we actually look at it, it initiates a grieving. Like we start to grieve what we wanted it to be, what we thought life was going to look like or whatever. And a lot of people, you know, we have a natural instinct to avoid pain, to avoid suffering. And so why would you want to, you know, just in your subconscious think, oh yeah, I'm going to really just take a really good assessment of how difficult my life is, because you're going to be subject to grieving what is not. You basically are getting honest. You're coming to terms with what really is, and you're getting rid of the story you've been telling yourself of trying to survive and just make it work.
That to me was the moment of strength when I was going, finally, I'm not telling myself a story anymore, and I'm not trying to make anybody else happy, and I'm not putting on a happy face for anybody else. And then, I mean, that takes us to the second point, which then you acknowledge, how does this all make you feel? And so when you pile on top of what you've really got on your plate and all the people that you really do have to care for, and then you start piling on all these real feelings, like you said, Joey, it's a bomb that a lot of people just don't want to light the fuse on. But until you go ahead and blow the thing up and get on down the road, it's just a sitting there ticking time bomb that carries more power by it just sitting there.
It is. It's worse. If you don't acknowledge it, it carries more power. It's the acknowledgement, which hurts. I mean, it hurts. You like have to sit down and like have this Job moment where you just cry and sit on the, you know, the dung heap or whatever and just really, really, really cry. But once you do that, there's a power that comes. Once you call out that elephant in the room, there's a power that comes where you can say, okay, I'm not losing my mind. It's okay that I'm upset about this because it really is really real and it's big. So in fact, it kind of helps you to say, I'm not okay. I went through this whole process where I felt empowered to say, I'm not okay. Because, you know, you run into people in the grocery store and they're like, hey, how are you? Oh, yeah. And you're supposed to say, I'm doing great. Thank you. How about you? And it's like, no, you know, our life's a train wreck, you know, and that puts people in a very uncomfortable situation, but it's true and it's real and it's okay.
Yeah. It's okay because, you know, some of the feelings that I came up with, you know, in my last career, it was all about show me the power. You know, I got this deal. I'm rolling with it. I got the strategy. I know how to do all this stuff. And suddenly the words that were coming out of my mouth were, I'm inadequate. You know, I don't have any authority. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know whether my child should have brain surgery or not. I don't know. Everything was, I don't know. And then I started feeling a lot of self-pity and, you know, all those feelings, but it felt so good to say, I don't know. You know, that was really powerful.
It's getting comfortable with the pain. It's getting comfortable with recognizing that you are in a situation that in many cases is you are chronically observing pain and suffering, which causes you, and brokenness, which causes you as the parent or the spouse or the daughter or the son to be in pain. Because I don't think it hurts it hurts worse to watch someone suffer than for you to suffer yourself. You know, how many times would we say, I would switch places with my kid, my spouse, my father, whoever it is, any day? You know what I mean? Because it actually is it's more painful to watch that. But the thing is that we don't recognize is that what Sarah was saying is that there is so much power that comes and grace that comes when we actually do acknowledge it and accept the pain. But our tendency to do is to push it away and push it down. But like you were saying, Mary, then what ends up happening is you have these minor explosions that are kind of coming out on other things.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I didn't quit this week, or my husband didn't say he loves me 10 times, and so now I'm pissed off, or you know what I mean? Or my kid didn't clean up the room again, and you blow up, and you're like, that's so irrational. Why did I blow up because I didn't clean the room again? Like, that seems out of sorts. But it's because we've been suppressing. You know, we've been in denial for what's really been going on. And so it's that honesty, it's that honest look that actually initiates power and grace and the ability to live with mental health to the most degree that
and it holds off that volcano, that big old ugly, I've lost it, that scares your other kids.
But the other thing that it did for me was it helped me align with something else besides the insanity that was going on in my head. My thoughts were all aligned with what I thought was reality. You know, my story was what I kept lining up with. But once I got it all out, and like you were saying, Joey, get honest, I could really say to myself, there's got to be another way to look at this. There has to be something else. This can't just be all about my going insane and us living like nuts and our life stinking. This has to be about something else. And once I got there, it's like a window opened and I was like, wait a minute. You know, and that's when I really started listening to God's truth about things that were, you know, it's not being done to me. I'm not a victim of this. I have a choice. I have a mental health choice that I can make to see this a different way, to think about it and to talk about it in a whole different way that can completely change not only the way I feel, but the way I'm no longer releasing poison on everybody else around me. You know, and it really just dramatically started to change everything when I got aligned with something besides my own pain.
Yeah, and the whole alignment thing is so key because I've always said that God is real. Therefore, he only dwells in reality. When we're living in a delusional state, when we're suppressing, when we're making up stories to make ourselves feel better or cope, there's no grace there because it's not actually real. And so when we get real, even in the mess and the pain and the hurt, the suffering, all of it, the anger, then he is able to come into that and help us. And he is ever present, ever willing, always at the brink of of assisting us. And all it takes is what you said, is help me to see this differently. And it doesn't matter where you come from, what color skin is, what nationality, religion, whatever. When we call on him, he comes to our help and he will give us. That's what happens. He ends up giving us new set of eyes to see that we didn't have before. But when we just try to keep trying to change it, I shouldn't feel this way, I shouldn't feel this way, you're just condemning yourself, you're judging yourself. So you're going to end up in more pain and more suffering. You know what I mean? We need something greater than us, something that is seeing beyond what we can see to help inspire us and enlighten us. And then we have now something to align our hearts with that is more real than even our situations may feel at the time.
That's it.
And then that brings in hope because there's that shift. So your circumstance doesn't change. It's still just as bad as it ever was. Your mountain is just still your mountain.
Absolutely.
But now there's this shift and there's this, it's like somebody just opened the window, just a little crack, and there's just a little bit of light, and that light is beautiful. And there's just this, you have just a little tiny bit of room to breathe where you thought you were suffocating before, and you really were suffocating. But then once you just call him in, I was thinking about this, praying before we got on today. And I was thinking about, in the storm, when they were in the boat on the storm, and he was right there. He was right there. It wasn't that he was far away. The second they say it, they call out to him. He comes and he just calms everything, and he comes into that brokenness,
Yes,
absolutely.
And that's the other part that got me was, it was one thing to have my aha moment that I could align with something different. Then it was every day affirming that.
Yeah.
And I had to say it to myself over and over again. Okay, this is still a poopy diaper.
Yeah.
Or I'm still getting up in the middle of the night. My husband is asleep. Why am I the one getting up? And, all that kind of stuff. This, like you said, Sarah, the situation didn't change, but I just kept affirming that truth to myself, that where's the lesson here? Where's the love? What am I being taught? How am I being grown? I want the gem. I'm willing to be here for the gem. And that affirmation became a lifestyle.
Yeah.
Well,
and it has to be. You can't just do it once because we leak. I would go to the class, and on the day of the class, we'd cry in the class. But then it's like, you've got to do it every day because, our problems, they don't stop.
Right.
So you got the problems coming in, you've got to constantly process and release that.
Well, and that's the thing, we as humans, we think, and especially in our society where everything is so convenient oriented, we think that I'm going to try this. And if it doesn't work, if I try it 5 times, doesn't work, then it didn't work. But what we're saying is the affirmation is like going to the gym. You need to go to the gym every day if you're going to see any difference in your physical body. And the same is true with truth, and the truth of the situations that we're in is that it has to be a daily practice. And if it's not, then the muscles are going to get really weak, in the same way with exercising. But what so many of us do is we're like, oh, these are great principles. They sound really great. And I feel inspired. And then we try to affirm them for like the next 2 days. And then we stop. And then we're like, oh, that didn't work, because there isn't this practice of it. There isn't this continuation of it. And part of that is surrounding yourself with people who will continue to affirm even when you do start losing your gusto a bit,
They're telling you you're not crazy. Your situation really is bad, and we're here, and we think you're awesome. You do need people like that, because
you really do.
You lose like that firm grounding,
But then the other thing happens is that, okay, you've been affirming, and there's people that think you've gone wacko. And then there's people that, it really doesn't matter what anybody thinks, is the bottom line. But then comes that moment when you got to put it into action, where you don't just think it, you don't just kind of know it with your heart, and I haven't just said it to myself, but by golly, you got to do it. And I had a moment where all this came together, where I'd had someone say to me, oh yeah, really? Well, can you walk up into your daughter's room, and instead of going, oh my God, am I going to find a corpse, or, oh, is the bed wet again, or whatever, can you walk up into that room and just allow? Can you just allow the seizures? Can you just allow it to be 3 o'clock in the morning and the second time you've changed the sheets? Can you allow your husband to stay in the bed? Can you allow all that? And I thought, well, I allow that every time. And she said to me, no, I mean, allow it. So the system started.
I just wrote that down. That's awesome. I don't think I've heard you talk about that. I'm going to start crying right now.
It's kind of a new thing, because what happened was I went up in that room with this whole new, well, if God's allowing it, I can't kind of thing.
Yes.
But what the power was, that instead of doing the thing that I do all night long in my own head, I shut my head off and allowed it, I could hear a different story.
Yeah.
Wow. And when you're acting and doing the same junk, but another story's emerging, that's what we're all after. That's the deal.
That's the beauty.
It is. That, the affirmation that came to me a lot in taking care of Kanan was, everyone is human, and it's 3 o'clock in the morning and you got a snowstorm and you're having to go to the ER, and your daughter looks dead in the back seat, and you're thinking to yourself, why is this happening to me? The affirmation that came to me early in her life was, this is my honor. This is my honor to take care of you. This is my honor to take you to the hospital at 3 o'clock in the morning through the snow, blah, blah, blah. But that sounds nice until you feel pissed and angry that you are having to do that, and you stop yourself and you begin to bring the affirmation in to that moment, and you begin to say that. And as soon as I began to say that, belief rose in my heart, and all of a sudden, like you said, nothing of the situation changed, but the story completely changed. Then I felt empowered, like, I'm honored to do this. This is an honor for me, for my family, for her, before God, and so all of a sudden I felt empowered, like, oh my gosh, you know what I mean? This is what I got to do. And I'm happy to be doing it because it's an honor. And so that always helped me so much to recognize that. And even when she was in a state of suffering, which was the most difficult thing for me to experience, same thing.
I know.
I'm honored that I can be here for you. Although I can't do anything, I'm helpless. There's nothing that I can do to intervene. I am just honored that I can be present with you and share space, energy, love, hearts, all this jazz. And it would change the story from my sob story of how hard my life is, and then it would turn it into something beautiful that her and I were sharing together, even though we were both in suffering at the same time.
Yeah, but then it's not even just between the two of you. Then you become a sign of hope and
Yes.
love to a hurting world. I mean,
Yes.
you know, we've all been given microphones in center stage. How many times? How many people love to stare at us, you know, and you know, watch how you're doing, right? And it becomes a real. And you know what? I love you people, but my daughter's on the move downstairs, and I can hear she's having a seizure. And I hate to do this, but I have to go. And so I'm going to exit the video, but I think you guys have been great. I appreciate it. I love you. And I'm sorry I have to just like fly. And I'll be back in touch if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right. Love you.
Love
Love you.
Bye.